Okay, so today we're going to talk about graphing slope-intercept form. So how do I graph a line when I'm given an equation in slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b? So that's our learning target. Before we get going here, take a look at this picture. How many almonds do you think are in that big container? Okay. How do I graph a line when I am given y equals mx plus b, or slope-intercept form? So once again, remember slope-intercept form because we're given two things, the slope, which is m, and the y-intercept, which is b. Remember, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, okay? All right, so what do we know about slope? We know the slope formula. We also know that slope is rise over run, okay? Rise over run is written as a fraction. The slope is written as a fraction reduced. So, and we know the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And today, really what we'll need in order to graph, though, is this. And we're gonna kind of work backwards with that. All right. So some quick reminders about fractions. Here in this first one, you'll see negative 3/4, right? Well, that is the same. You can take the negative, you can put it on the top. So it's, notice here, the negative's up here, or you can also put the negative on the bottom. So it's either in the front, the top, or the bottom. They all mean the same thing. So if you're given a fraction like this, I usually just put the negative right up on the top and go from there. And that's what we want to really think of when we're doing this. You'll see how that works. But you can also put it on the bottom if you'd like. I usually do the middle one, but it's up to you. Okay, and again, remember the fractions, when we're thinking of slope, the top number's the rise, up and down, and the bottom number's run, right and left, okay? How do I make a whole number a fraction? Remember, a whole number is like 7. How do I make that a fraction? Well, there's a variety of ways to do that, but to make it a fraction, the easiest way is to just put it over 1. So 7 is, if you have just 7, like this is completely simplified. But if you want to know what it is as a fraction, then you would put it over 1. Okay, and now it's a fraction. You could also do like 14 over 2, but it's easier to just deal with 7 over 1. So if I gave you negative 4, you'd say, oh, I need to make that a fraction. I just put it over 1. That's the easiest way to do that. Okay. So write the equation for the line in slope-intercept form. So what we did before, so what we've already learned is how to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So what we did, this is what we figured out how to do before, is we said, all right, well, what's the slope? And we did slope is rise, so up 3, and then to the right 1, so that's also positive, and we simplified that, and we got 3. So m was 3. And then we said, what is the y-intercept? And the y-intercept is right here. It's where it crosses the y-axis, and that is our b value, and that is 4 units down from right here in the center, right? 4 units down, so that's negative 4. And then we wrote our equation and we said y equals 3x minus 4, because slope-intercept form, remember, is y equals mx plus b. So this is what we did before. Today, what you're going to be given is this, and you are going to have to draw this line, okay? So that's what we're really working backwards from what we learned previously. So how do we do this? You want to start with your y-intercept. Remember, your y-intercept is your b value, okay? So plot the y-intercept. Then you're going to use your slope, and your slope is m, and that's going to be rise over run. You will count using rise over run, but you're going to count from your b value. And then you're going to connect the lines all the way through the entire graph, meaning don't just do a little line segment, make sure it goes all the way through the graph and put some arrowheads on the end. You'll see what I mean here. Here's how we do this. Okay, so let's say it says graph this equation right here, y equals negative 2/5 x plus 3. Okay, so the first thing is we want to know what is our m, what is our b. Okay, so remember, this is your slope, and this is your y-intercept. So m is negative 2/5. Now, because it's negative 2/5, I'm actually going to put the negative on the top. You can put the negative on the top or the bottom, just not both. Don't do both, because then you've just made it positive. Okay, and my b value, or my y-intercept, is 3. Now, when you graph, you will want to start, this is what's a little weird, you're going to start with this first, and then go to your slope. So I'm going to start with my y-intercept of 3, so find the y-axis, that's the vertical axis, and put a dot at positive 3. There we go. Okay, now from here, so now this is your new starting spot, not the middle. You're going to start there from your y-intercept, and you're going to count, you're going to use this. Remember, the top numbers rise, the bottom numbers run, rise over run. So a rise of negative 2 means go down 2 units. So from that dot that I made at 3, I'm going to go down 2 units, right? Down 2 units right there. And now I'm going to go 5 units to the right because my run is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I don't want to have that triangle there, but I'm going to put a dot right there. So I'm just actually going to get rid of those. My dot would go right there. Okay, now you could continue to do this if you want some more points. You could go down 2 units and then 5 more over, and you'd have another dot right here. The slope will be the same always, but really now you really just need 2. So if you don't want to do that extra one, you don't have to. But now I'm going to draw a line all the way through the graph between these 2 points, or these 3 points, I guess now. Okay, if you hold it on Notability, it'll straighten the line and you'll get a straight line. Notice I drew that all the way through the graph, and now I'm going to put some arrowheads on, and I'm done. Okay, so again, start with your y-intercept, b, and then from that point, you are going to do rise over run with your slope. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Okay, graph this one. Okay, so my m, remember m is that right there, that's 4. Okay, b is negative 5. Don't forget that. Notice it's negative. There's a minus sign in front of it. Don't forget that. So that's my y-intercept. Whoops. Okay, so now I've got these 2 pieces of information. The first thing you want to do is start with your y-intercept. So put a dot at negative 5 on the y-axis. That's right there. Okay, now I'm going to look at my slope. Okay, you'll notice here, this is not a fraction. In order to do rise over run, I'm going to have to make this a fraction. Well, how do we do that? Put it over 1. So I'm going to go, now I'm going to use this, and I'm going to go up 4, because remember, this is rise. It's positive, so that's 4 units up. Now I'm starting from this point right here. So up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then now my run is positive, so that means go to the right. 1 unit. Okay. Now, again, I don't want both of those lines there, so I'm going to get rid of those. And I'm going to put my dot right there. Now, again, you can go up 4 and over 1 from that point now and keep doing that if you want, but I usually just stop after these 2. Now, I'm going to draw my line. Okay, I can adjust this a little bit. And notice that's not quite how I want it. So if you have that, you can do the scissors, and you can kind of take and adjust a little bit each end if you want. So the scissors are kind of handy if it doesn't work out just perfect. Okay, now I'm going to put my arrowheads on there, and now I've got my line. And there we go. Again, make sure your line goes all the way through. And that's really it. There is one kind of weird one that I wanted to go over, and that's this one right here, y equals something like x plus 7. So m, what's my m? Well, what's the number here? I don't see a number. So really, it does have a number, but it's invisible. And so when you don't see a number there, there's really a 1 right in front of that. So this is really a 1 there, okay? So if I say that's my slope. Now notice that's a whole number. I want to change that to a fraction. So now I would put that also over 1. So kind of weird. My b, or my y-intercept, is 7, positive 7. Now I'm going to start again always with your y-intercepts. So put a dot at 7. My slope is 1. I made that a fraction by putting it over 1. So I have 1 over 1. Rise of 1. So I go up 1. And then I go to the right 1. Okay? Up, rise over run. 1 up, 1 over. Okay? And then I'm going to put a dot right there. Now, if you wanted to keep going up 1 and over 1, up 1, over 1, and get a couple of dots, you could. If you feel like that would be better, go for it. And it's easier to make your lines, however you want to do that. Now I'm going to draw my line. Okay. And if I need to make some adjustments, okay, and then some arrowheads on the end of that all the way through. There we go. That's it. That's how you graph a line in slope-intercept form. So again, these are the steps. If you're not sure, plot. What did we just do? We plotted the y-intercept, the b value first. Then from there, we looked at the slope and we went rise over run. Be aware of the negatives. And then we connect through the entire graph. Okay? All right. So now, your job is to write graphing slope-intercept form worksheet into your assignment book. And then go ahead and open that up and get started. Okay? Again, don't forget to be writing stuff into your planner and then checking it off as you go. Okay? All right. Have a good one. Hope this makes sense.